Hello, I'm John Beattie, and welcome to Cask to Glass, the whisky podcast where I explore the heritage and flavour of Scotland's national drink and the world's favourite spirit. Now, in this episode, I talked to master blender Max McFarlane about how to recognise the look, nose and palate of some very different whiskies.
All it took was one sip of the water of life.
Max, thanks for coming in.
You're welcome. Looking forward to it.
My house, the old fireplace. So we've got, well, what have we got here?
Various. You can tell from the colours, John. That was one of the things I thought we would do first, just as to look at various different things. Obviously, the one nearest you, John, there's no colour in it whatsoever. Most people would imagine new spirit, and of course, that's exactly what it is. At the other end of the spectrum here, we have first fill sherries, the darkest element, but in between with various other different whiskies as well to enjoy and to talk about. But Highland Park New Spirit, the first one, is actually available for anyone who wants to buy it through the Highland Park shop. The Highland Park New Spirit here is at 40%, and to look at it, you think, well, how on earth is whiskey going to get from this colour to here? Well, we all know why, because of the staves and the oak. This is what it's all about. Whiskey would not be the great international product it is without oak trees and super duper coopers who make the casks as well.
So we've got 7 things we're going to look at, and they're all very different. You know, for anybody watching and for people listening, we go from the new spirit. So people buy this, do they?
You can.
Just completely
it is available.
new spirit.
Yep. Some distilleries.
Colourless.
Yep. That's how it comes off the still. The only difference is it comes off the still usually around about 89 ABV. So that's been watered down to 40, and it's sold. And it can be used for a cocktail, and it's ice and blood red orange. And it's actually very pleasant.
So do you? I mean, you sniff. You tell me when I'll be sniffing. It's very pure, isn't it?
Yep. It's a almost bubblegum type nose to it as well. There's a hint of esters is a part of the spirit itself, so you'll always get a slightly fruity note to it as well. But there's a bubblegum note to it as well. And there's also, if you've ever been in a distillery and you smell the mash tun, or you smell in the area that you're in, you'll always get a hint of the malted barley. You'll get a hint of malted barley in the background. It's almost like shreddies, you know, in the morning, you open the packet and you smell the malted barley.
It goes right up there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't taste like whiskey.
No,
it's not whiskey yet.
No. Well, until it's 3 years old, as you know. But yeah, it's a very pleasant starting thing for the history of whiskey. But we have to teach people this is how it starts.
Yes,
you know. And where does it go to? Well, it goes to here because of the oak trees. You know, and again, the oak trees are so important that we haven't discovered anything as good to mature whiskey as the oak trees. What you see there, John, on the inside, this is the charring of the whiskies as well, which opens the wood up. And then when the wine goes in, the wood isn't available. It just sucks all the wine into the pores that the charring has opened. But it makes, I've got it in my sample room at home. The only problem is it makes an awful mess of your carpet.
Makes a mess of your carpet.
The charring comes off all the time. But even now, you can get a hint of the peat. You know, there's a distinct peatiness about it.
Yeah.
Not a Lefroy peat. Highland Park peated it's got a unique, because they use some of the Hobbister Moor peat with obviously the manufactured peat. But yeah, you can get that. You can buy that in the Highland Park shop. But what a start, you know. People think, well, how many people have, unless you're a regular visitor to distilleries, you've never seen new spirit before. Most people have never seen it.
You're right. People who buy whiskies will never have seen this.
No.
Not, as you said, unless they go to the distillery
No,
and say, give me something straight out.
Yep. And of course,
It's so clear.
Yep. The distilleries will not let you taste that either.
Why not?
We probably haven't, because to bottle it, you have to pay the VAT, you have to pay the tax on it. So Highland Park have paid the tax on some of their new spirit and bottled it. So that came out of a Highland Park bottling that I've got in the house that I use for, like I said to you before, John, educational purposes.
Yeah.
Let people know what it's all about.
Well, let's go through these because you've got 7, as we said, from the very, very clear spirit.
Yep.
We'll move that one away.
Yep.
Take me down the line then.
The next one. I'd be disappointed if you didn't recognise this one, John, because we've spoken about it before and we've had fun about it before. Remember,
this bubble is this.
What is it you smell when you go into the cinema?
It's popcorn.
Popcorn, John. Good man.
Popcorn.
And who is it we're going to try and use this to educate her as to your whiskey taste?
Judith Ralston.
Absolutely.
Single grain.
That's single grain. The same one that we're talking about.
Single grain.
Yep. Popcorn, single grain. The same one as we did before, John. Riveter. Yep. Some people say that it can be butterscotch as well, but basically popcorn. Yeah. And this is at 48 ABV.
But to go back to where we started, the difference between this and this is like the width of the country, isn't it? It's totally different.
Yep. The thing with that is that Riveter is 15 years old. So under normal circumstances, in a really good cask, in 15 years' time, it should be a lot darker. But what happens with most single grain casks are ex refill casks or bourbon casks. So they don't pick up an awful lot of colour, but they do pick up maturation, which this one is. So the popcorn butterscotch really comes from the bourbon cask mostly.
Do you know what's really bizarre is having tasted this, and then you tell me it's popcorn. I can totally taste popcorn. Smell it.
And you haven't even washed your mouth out from that stuff either.
No. That's brilliant.
But see, one day, John, you'll be able to do this. You don't need me. You won't need me.
No chance. No chance. We'll get back to that episode in a second, but the best free way you can support the podcast is just hit the thumbs up button on this video and subscribe so you get new episodes every week. It also helps lots more people find the podcast. So thank you.
But that's North British. You'll be aware of the distillery behind Murrayfield.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you'll have been there.
I haven't been there, but I've smelt it. I remember being on the train maybe a week ago and I could smell it. It's a beautiful smell. I always thought it was a brewery. It's a distillery.
No. Because a lot of famous rugby internationalists have been there as well. And days gone by, when I worked for Edrington, we had a 50% share of North British. And we used to go through and park our car there because you couldn't get parked anywhere else. You parked your car in the North British car park. But before the game, you'd go up and have a couple of drams. But right round the whole building, more or less everybody was a rugby internationalist.
Really?
John McPhail,
yes,
he was one of the North British. He was one of the North British chairmen, and so it was like before the game, great to park, something to eat, a bit of chat. You bumped into all kinds of people, and the same afterwards. So I was surprised you hadn't been.
A 5-minute walk.
Exactly. So that's 15 years old North British. That's Ardgowan Riveter. Very, like I've said to you before, we've had numerous people who've never drunk whiskey before. That's what we start them on.
Right. So we've gone from Highland Park, the neat spirit, to Riveter, single grain. Slightly, light yellow.
Yeah.
We've got some coming up that are almost red, bizarrely.
Absolutely.
So light yellow.
Yep. Grain, you'll usually find most grain, no matter what age they're at, unless they've been finished in a sherry cask, most grain bottlings that you'll find will always be roughly that colour. You won't, because most of them have been filled into either bourbon casks or refill casks.
Do you have a name for that colour? Is there a name?
A name?
No.
Well, call it Jenny. Call it Jenny. No, I mean you're talking in terms of maybe sort of like pale yellow.
All right, okay. Shades.
That,
So that's number 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Number 3 is slightly darker.
Yep.
So that is slightly. So this is where we started. Just to remember, is this totally clear
Yep.
that very few people get to taste, which is
Absolutely.
the spirit, which has got a bit of peat in it,
Yeah, all right.
and some hints. But this is where we are now, which is slightly darker than
Well, the
single grain.
The single grain is natural colour. This is one that's not natural colour. This would be like a famous grouse or a white Mackay or whatever. This is this has got caramel in it. The reason for the caramel is because they sell so many bottles of it. They want the colour to be the same from one batch to the next.
Right.
So it's done by computer. The computer calculates it all out and puts in the same amount of caramel in to every vat, so that when every bottle of grouse or every bottle of white Mackay on a shelf looks the same colour. So this is natural. This is
Slightly caramelised.
Caramel. You can feel it.
Can you taste it? Can you taste caramel? Or is it just the caramel colour?
The caramel colour is manufactured.
Manufactured
you know,
colour.
but to forgive me, the trained nose, you can pick it up. You can pick it up.
So you can pick up, as you're sensing that, you can pick up the caramel colour code.
Yep. It's not, you put a caramel shortcake out your mind. It's not that type of thing. It's a kind of, it's more getting, not very, very light treacle, light treacly note, but again, it's, well, they do what Grouse does, 3 million cases, so and it all comes out the same colour, or computerised, it all comes out the same colour.
Just to diverge for a second, we were in Malaysia, my wife and I, for my school reunion, and you'd said somewhere, I think you'd said to me in one of the podcasts that there's quite a bit of counterfeit stuff around, and you can buy in Malaysia pretty well-known whiskies that are really, really cheap, much cheap, £5 a bottle, which is counterfeit, isn't it?
All right.
Yeah, counterfeit.
All that's happening is the real stuff will have arrived in Malaysia, and it will have gone to all the top range clubs.
Yeah.
And what happens when the bottles are finished, they go into the dumpster round the back, and the wee kids are all gathering the bottle because they've got the label. They've got, all they need to do is find somebody to put the stamp and put some rubbish in it.
Seal the top.
Some rubbish in it. That's what happens. But anyway, in my view, on that kind of thing is if it helps the kids, survive another week, then fine.
Sure.
But the SWA is on the case for all the counterfeit, particularly Macallan, all the old Dalmore and all that. The SWA they have their own. I think they have their own department. Who are people going all around the world, sourcing counterfeit operations.
And we should talk about the modern world of whiskey without getting too political. Because we spoke to Chris Custer on the podcast, and he said, I'm importing a lot, and then he was on the news saying it could be catastrophic what's happened, especially if the tariffs go up. Is there a general, without being political, is there a sense of unease in the industry, as in the market's changing?
There's a definite unease, but I don't think there's an unease in the premium market, because if you and I can buy a bottle of Johnny Walker Black at $70, another $7 on the top of that, it's not going to make any difference. Where I can see there could be problems is in America, for example, Dewar's or Cutty Sark or any of the kind of blended ones where it's not, forgive me for saying it's not the top range people that are buying it. They've then got to put another $7 out their pocket. So I can foresee the difficulties there. But premiumisation, I think every whiskey company at the moment is talking about premiumisation.
Yeah.
Just get up there and stay up there and see how it all goes. Because people who have got a bottle of Johnny Walker Black in their cupboard, it's finished, they'll go out and buy another one. Yeah. It doesn't matter what the price is if they've got the funds to do it.
And they've got the money, and it's a premium product.
Absolutely. There's various places in the world that are still to be. India, for example, there's more whiskey drinkers in India than anywhere else in the world, but they drink a lot of their own stuff. Mm-hmm. And of course, they charge 150% tariff on Scotch. So there's trade deals, as you know, John. I heard you talking about it the other day. I forget who you were talking to in the radio, talking about trade deals with India, but it seems to be taking ages to get sorted. But that's another market that could be opened right up for Scotch whisky for the Scotch whisky industry. Believe it or not, I read an article. I think it was you wrote it. And Nigeria, believe it or not, is another area for the middle class is increasing all the time. So in Nigeria and Brazil is another country where a lot of the more exports can go. But worryingly, I would be worrying about the lower end, the premiumisation,
the mass market.
The premiumisation, I think will be fine.
Right, whiskey number 4
is. So this is lightly peated and a version of your new spirit, but it's 12 years down the line.
Highland Park.
Yeah.
You can smell. I mean, for anyone watching this or listening, you can just smell the difference between all of them. It's incredible, isn't it? But this is the first lightly peated one we've done.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's about 12 years old.
Wow.
So the history of the cask for Highland Park would have been somewhere in the region of 60% of the cask in Highland Park would be first fill sherries. Or it was when I was there. It might be up, might be down now. But it was a delicate balance. They decided that in days gone by, there wasn't the malted barley that's bought in now comes in at a particular parts per million, which effectively gives you more or less the same new spirit all the time. But then, depending on the casks that are available, there is a slight variation on this in the sense that the master blender of Highland Park now still has the idea that it's Provenance. We've got it up there. Let's keep it up there. Let's get John buying a bottle tomorrow and then buying another bottle next week. That's the idea behind it. Edrington's always been like that. But it does have its variations because some of the sherry casks may be a bit darker, that one vat to the next vat. And also that means that there's less sherries in it. They try to keep the same colour again.
Is that coloured?
This is natural.
That's natural. So this
is natural.
This one's coloured.
Coloured up.
Can I just hold them together?
Of course. Yep.
All right. There's not much. Well, there is a bit of a difference.
No, well,
but not much.
Let's say that was famous Grouse. That'll probably be 5 years old. Right. And this is 10 years old. But it's something that I strove to, and everyone else since then has strove to make sure the quality is the same. But it's all about the sherry casks, because like I say, it would normally be 60%, but in that 60%, if you have particularly dark ones, it might reduce the sherry content down to 58. Because they always want to have the same colour eventually. So that's the kind of art of the blender, in that they balance everything up. So yeah, I think it's worthwhile having a wee drink. Beautiful, lovely.
It is lovely.
Sweetness. Yep.
Gentle.
Yep.
No, it's not straw. It's not a buster.
That's 43. Just perfect. It's perfect. Your microphone can almost smell it.
It can. The beauty is just the look of them. There's something about the look of them too, isn't there? Look at that.
Well, that's not that. That's chill filtered, etc. So they take some of the char out of the vatting that's maybe there, but they don't take anything else out. All the kind of chemical aspects of the whiskey are left, but they take the char out. That's what the chill filtration is all about. But yeah, nice.
So we've tasted 4. We've gone from the clear spirit, which is that one, along to the single grain for Judith, and then we've got to that's the Highland Park. Is that right?
That's Grouse.
That's Grouse. Then Highland Park.
That's Highland Park.
Highland Park.
Then
Then on to next. Again, it's either looking dark because it's beside the really dark one, or it is a wee bit darker.
It's a wee bit darker. A wee bit darker again. So we're on heavily peated now.
Heavily peated.
Heavily peated. This will be Lefroy.
The land of Isla.
Aye, absolutely.
That's totally different.
Aye.
I mean, we should do a thing called smell-o-vision, shouldn't we? For this.
Yeah, but some people can't smell anything, John.
Well, I'm not great because I've got bust sinuses, but I can smell the difference.
Was it the peated element is different as well? You know that some of the peat in the Orkney comes from the moor. Laphroaig, I think, is all manufactured. It's all brought in because as soon as you open up the moor, you lose all the carbon dioxide.
Okay,
and that's where we're going. Aye.
That doesn't smell that wild for a Laphroaig.
No. But a completely different flavour.
What are you smelling? What are you smelling? See, I'm smelling. Bizarrely, I'm smelling quite sweet.
Aye,
I'm not smelling what I thought would smell, which would be the TCP element of the really harsh Laphroaig. I'm smelling a kind of sweetness.
How old is the bottle you've had?
No
idea.
You get out of? No, I'm 10-year-old.
You've had it for 10 years. Oh no. So it's sometimes the things can happen in the bottle if it's lying empty. But no. I think that's a pretty good Laphroaig.
Mm. You like it?
But Highland Park would it's like being at school. You know, you teach somebody a lightly peated one, and then if they like that, well, here why don't you try a slightly heavier peated one? And because some people just say, "Oh, I only drink Islay." Yeah. They don't drink it. They don't drink Orkney because Scapa itself has picked up dramatically the sales in Scapa as well. But that was as a result of Highland Park being so popular. So Scapa is now very popular as well. But it has a different element to it as well.
I love telling the amazing story of Scotland's whisky industry and sharing some positivity about one of the incredible things this country has given the world. Now, if you want to share some positivity too, leave us a 5-star rating wherever you are listening to the podcast. It takes you 10 seconds and will help Cask to Glass reach a much, much wider audience. What are the trendy whiskies? What are the whiskies that you sense are getting up in the market?
Well, I think Dalmore, they've discovered a lot of old casks in their warehouse. Right. One of the ones I think is vastly underrated is Aberfeldy. Right. And Aberfeldy, I think, always went into Dewars as a blend, part of the blend. But Aberfeldy is coming out with a lot of 25 years old and 18 years old as well. I think a 21-year-old as well. Aberfeldy's on the way up as well. Obviously, you have the Glenfiddich, Glenmorangie as well. But some of the ones that were particularly used in the past just for blending, they've suddenly started bringing them out as single malts. Aberfeldy in particular is nice. Craigellachie as well, which is we're about to sample, which is the next one. First fill sherry Craigellachie, the next one. But Tam Do as well. Any of the Leonard Russell ones, the Glengoyne, Tam Do as well. McLeod. Yep, they're doing really well. I sincerely hope that the horse I've got a share in does well as well with Lucinda. I'm just waiting.
How did they do at the National?
She pulled them out.
It came out the day before, didn't it?
It was too warm. It was too warm. The ground at here goes really hard very, very quickly. They pulled a lot of them out. Pulled a lot of them out. But no, mine's is Killybegs Jet Lady.
Have you got a share in a horse?
Aye, I've got one. It's only, I think there's about 500 of us got a share in it. So I've got one. My partner's got one, and my son's got one. And it was injured originally, but it ran very promisingly there a couple of weeks ago. So we'll see how it goes. I think it's going to be. Forgive me, but I think it's going to be a chaser. You know, on the big fences as opposed to the wee ones, because it was when it would jump the wee ones, I was watching it and it was jumping too high,
2 feet clear,
too high. Exactly, but these days horse racing is not, particularly around the Grand National, it's not a subject that a lot of bad.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because was it 2 horses died?
Aye.
It's a difficult topic.
Aye.
It's like the sport you and I played. It's a difficult topic because a lot of people get damaged by the sport, don't they? In fact, I got phoned by a friend the other day thinking, ask him, I won't say who he is, but saying, I don't think I've got issues, but I think I'd like to be tested in terms of brain health. So I put him in contact with somebody. I hope he's okay.
Concussion.
Concussion on the bashes.
Aye.
Right, I've been looking forward to this one.
Aye.
Because this is almost, again, to compare it to the, the clear spirit, which is like is as clear as water. Then the lighter ones, the single grain ones.
They're both roughly, the whiskies that are in those glasses are roughly the same age. It just shows you the difference in the casks.
But just to describe the colour, I mean, we've gone from clear to a really nice yellow.
Well, you and I would call it Peely Wally.
Peely Wally yellow to caramel aided grouse to that slightly weak tea looking to what is something that's almost red.
Yep.
Isn't it?
Almost red wine like.
Almost like a dark sherry.
Yep. Right.
So what is that then?
That's a first fill sherry. It's the whiskey's been in that cask for 11 years, and again back to the sherry first fill sherry cask. The first fill sherry cask, if you can imagine.
What does that mean, Max?
Well, essentially,
it's been a sherry cask. They buy it.
No, not necessarily that. No, the cask will have been built, and then the sherry will be put into it. So the cask is built.
Yes.
A virgin cask is built.
Yes.
The
sherry in the cask.
charring is done. Then the wine goes in, or wine stroke sherry goes in, and the cask sucks all the sherry into the pores that the charring has opened up. Yeah. And then lo and behold, when we put our new spirit in, it does the complete opposite. So
it takes the colour out of this.
Yep, and this is what you end up with here. 10 years down the line, a beautiful natural colour. Even smells of sherry as well. Smells of sherry. Smell. There's a wee bit of hint of stewed mince about it. There's also the normal kind of sultanas or a Christmas cake that your mum would make. Sultanas or dark fruit. Aye, absolutely.
Mixed dark fruit.
Yep.
Totally different.
Aye.
That is the mind-boggling thing. Totally different.
That it was not that long since whiskey suddenly realised.
Wow.
I think it's the number one international traded product in the world now. Whiskey. Scotch whiskey. Yep.
It's certainly our biggest export.
The problem now is with all the different countries opening their own distilleries. Mm-hmm. China's got 55. So where are we getting all the oak trees? Mm. We haven't discovered, well, to my knowledge, we haven't discovered anything that matures the whiskey as well as the oak trees. So the oak values have shot up to buy a cask. But what are we doing to the oak forests? I know that Edrington, when we got our sherry casks, they were about 20 years old. So at that time, when we took one cask down, we were putting 3 new ones back into the soil. But it's 20 years before you can use them again.
And the population of the world's gone up from when I was born 3 billion to heading towards 9, 10, 11 billion.
Yep.
So more and more people want whiskey.
Exactly. How many of them have not tasted whiskey, So the Indian market, Brazil, Nigeria, Canada are going to open up at some point in time. But this is one of my favourite drams.
But the beauty of whiskey is it's not about... most people, I think, go to the pub and have a pint of lager. I do anyway. And you have a pint of lager. And maybe another pint of lager. It looks a wee bit different. But whiskey seems to be unique. It was a bit like wine, but it seems to be unique in that it has every conceivable colour, every conceivable flavour, hasn't it?
Aye.
And part of the fun of it is having a bit of an exploration.
Well,
isn't it?
Well, you use the word exploration. What my favourite word is education.
Education.
But there's more and more whiskey clubs, opening up now where people, you and some of the boys from Aki's come in on a Friday night into the room here, sit down, have a few drams and a slightly educational note, because the majority of the drams that you're going to offer your pals, they've probably never drunk, because you're not going to choose, the ones that probably tasted. You want to do something different, like this one here.
Yeah, they've tasted grouse. They've probably tasted an island malt. But they've not tasted this.
And then help it with maybe dark chocolate as well,
Yeah.
get Joel to bring some dark chocolate and do some
Yeah,
charcuterie
senses,
as
Joel.
well. Yeah, absolutely. Because you can make a beautiful evening out of it. Not
Well,
just
I know you do that.
not
you do
just
that, don't you?
not just
You do
yeah,
that.
not just coming in on some drams. You can have dark chocolate.
That's lovely, isn't it? There's something welcoming about that.
Oh,
I don't know whatever.
aye.
I'm not. We're not here to sell anything.
No.
We're not selling anything.
No.
Because we could do this without telling you what they are.
Aye.
But again, that one is just there's something about sitting beside a fire.
Well, Crygellic sherries, and we chatted before about
Sure.
Ardgowan. All the Ardgowan products have Ardgowan Crygellic sherries in them
Right.
because it's one of my favourite ones, and it's funnily enough, it's right across the road from Macallan. So if and when I go up to Macallan, I always go into Crygellic distillery to see round because I think it's one of my favourite. But the sherry element of it is an amazing thing that's happened to the Scotch whisky industry.
Yeah.
Single malts without sherry is we would all be drinking this kind of colour.
Yes, yes,
But I was
caramel.
really interested. I'd never heard it before, John. But when you said there's something homely about this,
There is.
what
There's
makes it homely? Is it the colour or?
I don't know. It's just that. It's that. Well, yeah. It's not as harsh looking. It's more gentle looking, isn't it?
More Scottish.
Maybe more Scottish, more welcoming.
Aye.
And we should make a plea, should we? Because we know that tourism numbers are being affected. Not that again, aren't they?
Yep.
So we know our biggest market, our biggest whiskey market's America, isn't it?
By value.
By value.
Aye.
And then one of our biggest incoming markets is American tourism.
Yep.
And we think that's going down, don't
Aye, for sure.
we? And you want Americans to come here and sample our whiskies.
Aye.
Come and look around the distilleries. Come and do the tours.
Aye. Our distillery's Ardgowan's just last week had its first mash. So the official opening day is the 20th of June for your readers and listeners, John. They'll be very welcome. But we have to work hard at it because, like I said, just about every country in the world is making their own whiskies now. China's got 50 distilleries.
Yeah.
But they can't call it Scotch. That's the provenance. That's the important part of it.
Yeah.
They can't call it Scotch. They can make it, and they don't have to wait for 3 years. So we've got to wait a minimum 3 years. So it's an equation that needs to be kind of balanced a wee bit better, I think.
Yeah, but on behalf of the podcast, come to our country, wherever you're from, Germany, France, America, Canada, come to our country, sample these amazing whiskies. And you'll have a ball. It's
Absolutely.
a great country. It's a brilliant place.
Absolutely.
The last one.
Well, this is one, John, that not everything goes to plan.
All right.
Not everything goes to plan when it comes to sampling casks, but a vatting of Highland Park, a vatting of whatever, every cask is sampled. And the reason every cask is sampled is because of this here. So what we have here is what I would term just an off note. I could think of other words, but I'll just use off note. And it's just
Yeah.
the
we
most
sniff of that?
common off note is sulphury. This is sulphury. Somebody says, well, how's it happen? Sometimes it can be a nail in the cask.
Right.
Sometimes it could be just too much resin in the cask, whatever. But sulphury is the most common off note. Now, I know you probably don't pick it up too much on the nose, but just take a wee sip and you'll
There's
get.
something wild. Oh. I wasn't.
There's a what?
Max.
Sorry, John. I didn't mean
wasn't
to do that.
expecting that.
See that tackle you hit me with about 25 years ago? That's me getting my own back.
I didn't expect that.
Aye, sorry.
That's really no.
No, sorry. Just to even it up, I'll
That's
do it as well.
really bad. You don't really smell it, but you taste it. Oh. And the reason these are all so good is they make sure this
Doesn't get in.
never gets in.
Absolutely.
This never gets in.
That's it. That's it in a nutshell.
Can I describe?
Of course you can, eh? It's not so much in the nose, it's more the palate. The palate is, it's got a mix.
it's almost like it's like a poison. It's what you'd imagine a poison to be. It's nothing to do with whiskey.
No.
It's
There's
seaweedy.
Again, there's one I was going to suggest.
Ammonia.
There's a woody element to it as well.
Oh,
you know, like
that's weird, Max. That's weird.
You can see if we put.
It looks fine.
You and I put all that together and we put that in it.
Destroy.
Well, in fact, we can do it.
No.
We can do it. In fact, we'll put it in the grain. We'll do it. Oh, sorry. We'll do it.
So someone's blending a nice whiskey and get some grain whiskey, and you put the wrong vat in. This has been the biggest shock I've had in the whole podcast series.
Grain.
Quite sad, actually.
Grain or the off note?
The off note.
The off note. But see now, we didn't put that much into that. You'll still get it. That kind of like, I'm not doing it to prove it, but that can.
What is it? It's like a meat that's off.
Aye.
It's like a fetid meat taste.
Aye. So the thank goodness the water's good.
Mineral water.
But like we've discussed.
That's
before,
bizarre. That's bizarre.
It's all about education, because we really need to keep on top of it all. Really need to keep on top of it all, and hopefully that's helped yourself. And
that has
the
really
viewers.
helped. That's really helped, because that's for people listening and watching, the beautiful variation from the crystal clear to the beautiful homely red colour, the caramel colours to the off note.
Absolutely. We're
It's a good story, isn't it?
We're doing a lot of good in Spain as well, because we're using all the wine, and they're building all the casks as well. So it's and yet they have their own wines. They have their own wines as well. They have their own brandies. One of the things nowadays, John, you'll probably see is there's a lot more experimentation going on with wood now. You get some whiskies that are finished in Madeira wine. You get whiskies that are taken out their original cask and then finished in sherry cask for 3 months. I mean, that's been in a sherry cask. That's been in there for 11 years. So you've then got Pedro Jimenez as well. That's because it's a very powerful wine. You could take one of these and put it in for a month, and you would see the difference. So there's a lot of experimentation going on. Some good, some not so good. But the most important thing, I think, in the whiskey industry, I'll go back to, is the oak. And I tell people, if we're in Spain, give the oak tree a big hug, because if we don't have an oak tree, we really don't have an industry. The podcast as well is educational, because the various elements of the ones I've been listening to, different people with different ideas, but effectively they come on because, well, obviously they come on because they want to talk to you, John, but obviously they come on because of whiskey, because of whiskey, Now you've got cast to glass. Hopefully you'll always stick to whiskey. Are you plans to?
Well, it's whiskey at the moment. Whiskey at the moment. I'm looking at the producer. We're thinking of whiskey.
What's going big now is tequila. Tequila. Are even talking about flavouring tequila and all kinds of things now. But this idea of educating, like I said to you before, I would have it at school, but the podcast has been great. And if I can help at all, anytime, just give me a shout.
Brilliant, Max. Thank you very much. Very kind of you. That's
welcome.
An education. That's been a half an hour of an education. Thank you.
Well, do you want to share this one?
Yeah. They're all so different. Cheers. Slash. Lovely. I'm in love.
Good.
We're never going home. We're never going home. Can we stay with you in Scotland for the rest of our lives? We're never going home. Never going home. All it took was one sip of the water water